final vision.
Hello folks, thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of Vinyl Vision. This is Jimmy Drab, your host, and this is my show. Special guest tonight is Doug Cheatwood. Doug Cheatwood is a good friend of mine from back in 2001. I met in New Orleans, Louisiana. Nolans, if you're nasty. He is just an amazingly talented songwriter that was an amazing circumstance to kind of run into and get to meet and know and befriend. I get into that in the podcast, so I won't really say too much about that now. But this was a long one. It was a long conversation. We did a lot of catching up, basically. So, and I just had a lot of fun talking to him, so that's, it is what it is. And I think we had a lot of fun, and I think that will come through if you're listening, so enjoy it. Just to get it right up front, let me just tell you that for those watching the video stream, what you're watching right now is a montage that I created of the video footage from the Totalitarian, Doug's new ambitious television show. It's available on YouTube. The links will be set up in the homepage, so just go to the homepage to find all the details about this project and where you can find it. The video stream is on YouTube, and the audio stream, which is available for purchase, is on Bandcamp. It's one season of television, of a video series, and each episode in this season, there's 10 of them, is a full-length album. Okay, so if you go to Bandcamp, you'll click on the episode and you'll see the track listing, and it's like 1 through 10 or 12, depending on the episode. And it's like a full-length album. So this is essentially 10 full-length records available now. He's already working on season 2. Half of it is already up on Bandcamp, so you can get into that too. So there's so much to get into, so much to go through, that I just figured, let me just kind of create a quick montage for you so you can kind of see a little bit, hear a little bit, and get a feel for what the project's all about. Doug's amazing. Like, he covers so many different genres that there's something for everybody, quite literally. So whatever music you like, go explore some of this catalog. Just go and just try it out, because most likely you will come across something that you actually enjoy. Aside from that, this episode was a little troublesome for me. Doug and I both had a lot of problems with the internet connection and just kind of making it work, and ultimately we actually canceled the podcast. I literally packed up. We were like, let's do it in a couple of days from now, and we'll reconvene, and hopefully the internet will be working better, or you can get to another place where we can try it out. And and then so half an hour later, after we canceled and I was already packed up and back in my house, Doug messages me with a link to Zoom. So the Zoom worked, and so we went back to it. Doug chose the album The Wall by Pink Floyd, which was also another kind of crazy and ambitious thing to try to tackle. So we actually get into that a very little bit near the end of the show, only because we had so much kind of catching up to do. So I kind of chose to just do that and just speak to the guy, because he's just a lot of fun to talk to, and he's a very good friend. Follow the links on the homepage, please, to go find this project from Doug and to go explore it. It's you will not be disappointed. Okay, there's something for you there. Just go through it. It's amazing. I am a huge fan of his. I'm honored to have him, and I'm honored to introduce some of you to him if this is the first time you're hearing about him. So I compel you, please go do that thing. And then here we thank you for tuning in and doing all the things you do with the internet, the liking and the sharing and the subscribing and the reviewing and the writing and the yada yada, and it's great. Absolutely great. We love you for it. Thank you. Enjoy the show.
Please understand as I tell this story again. The meter reader
like with the Totalitarian. So this is like 10 episodes. And each episode is basically like a record unto itself.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I chose Pink Floyd,
Yeah.
is because I feel like I heard the Pink Floyd records at an early age, and I immediately thought, I want to do something like this. I want to make something that's like a complete package and can convey like a big idea that people will sit with, you know?
Right.
Rather than focusing on making like just pop songs or whatever,
Yeah.
So when I started doing the Totalitarian, I was kind of wrestling with what is the future of the album, Because as like, if you're talking about physical formats, like aside from being like a vintage sort of fetish item, an album is obsolete, like as a physical thing, right?
Yeah.
But from an artistic perspective, an album is still a form, So I was trying to wrap my head around what is the value of that form and how can we continue carrying that into the future as, people's attention spans get shorter. Music it's like David Bowie said it was going to be, where you just turn it on like tap water, like you kind of like, it's everywhere. It's free, basically.
Right.
How do you reach people the same way that these albums used to reach people?
Right. Your idea is basically creating this television show, because there's a full number of episodes and by the season. And every episode, which you currently for the first season have 10 episodes, is about half an hour in length, a little longer. Some of them are a little longer here and there. And they are essentially full-length records. I think that is so ambitious. And that you did it, and it's actually available now, is, like, it blows my mind, dude.
Well, it wasn't like I didn't come up with the plan at the beginning, It was kind of
just coming together like that.
Yeah, it developed as I went. Like, what happened was 2018, I hadn't recorded anything by myself. I didn't record anything by myself during the entire run of the band.
Right.
So it had been about 11 years, I think. And I was just sort of at a place where I was like, well, I wonder what I can do by myself at this point. Because obviously I've changed. I'm a different person. I wonder how this is going to go. So I started just recording music just to do it. And then, I had at the beginning, I had, a couple of ground rules. And one was like, use what's around you, like
whatever instruments you can find.
Whatever's laying around. Like if there's a keyboard, use that. If there's like sticks and stones, use those. And then the second ground rule was just don't overthink it. And both of those were kind of the opposite approach for Bastards of Fate. Because with Bastards, we would have an idea and then we'd figure out how to make it happen. It's like, okay, well, we want gospel singers on this. So then, Jason would go down to Hollins University and start talking to people, and we would assemble like, a gospel group to sing background vocals.
Yeah.
And then we bring them into the studio, and then we recorded on a reel-to-reel tape recorder.
Jesus.
And everything was like meticulously planned. Like with that band, we would create the impression of chaos, but like in terms of like what we were actually doing, it was, really arranged,
Right.
and every performance was I didn't none of us really veered from the script. It was ritualized. It was just like a matter of throwing the energy into it.
Yeah, yeah. And just to write and record the music, how long did it take you? You said you started in 2018.
The whole series, it was about 2 years.
Of writing and recording the music?
The video too. The video I did really fast.
Oh, okay. I wanted to do those separately because I wanted to see exactly how much time and preparation you put behind the videos, because those are fucking intense too, because they're videos of the entire record. So that's 10 records with fucking 10 to 12 songs each being half an hour plus, depending. That's like a crazy amount of work. Like, we're talking about The Wall. This is a double album. You've made how do you even say 10 in
I've been alone a lot.
Yeah.
So and like, by choice, but like it's, when I was a kid, and I still do this. If I go to the beach, I start building a sandcastle, and I just get so into it, and I just start, like, it just takes all day, and before I know it, it's like the day's over. I've got sunburn, and the sun is going down, and so that's kind of what the 2 years were like. It's just, I think I knew that it was going to be a TV show around episode 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I started to like get because I was writing all this stuff, and I was struggling to figure out who is going to want to put this out. Like, it's just too much,
Right.
It's like, because if I was going to talk to a label and say, hey, I got 10 records, you want to put them out? It's like,
right.
I mean, I guess I would like to hear some of it on vinyl, honestly. And I guess that's still an option. Like, if somebody throws, if I'm talking to people and somebody makes me an offer, I'd totally jump at that. Yeah?
I'll make you an offer, sure.
Oh,
you might not like it, but I'll make an offer.
All right, well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. We'll talk about it. Yeah, because I'm just getting into it right now, and it's kind of cool, and like, it's something I've always wanted to do. So, and like I said, I love you. I love your music. I think it's great.
Well, I love you too.
I would even be interested in putting out your old stuff. Like, so I said I was a big fan of yours. I only have one record of yours, really, but that's because I had 4 or 5 digital copies of stuff that you had released prior to starting the Bastards of Fate. All of which I have now lost because I, put them on a hard drive, and that hard drive crashed, and I gave away all of my CDs, like, for the 3rd time. So now they're all gone.
Well, I mean, I got them. They're on my computer. I'll get
Send
them
to me. Yeah, please. I would love it, because I miss those songs. But I love the work now. So the Totalitarian, as ambitious as it is, I mean, it is back to form. Like, for what you had said about, you started up the Bastards of Fate, and you have been working with them solely for like the past 11 years, and you having had felt any kind of like awkwardness about possibly making music by yourself again. I mean, I think it's great. Now, I love everyone in the band. I love the Bastards of Fate and all the members. I mean, we used to all hang out, and but I love what you do too. And even if it's by yourself, it's equally as good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and so let me just talk about your episodes for a second. So, because I listened and watched most of it. I haven't been able to watch all of it yet because I've been too busy listening to shit. But again, the videos being a whole other animal of like, kind of like entertainment. So you portray every character that is filmed in the Totalitarian. So not only have you created these characters in the music, but now you've created a visual character for each of them as well.
Yes. Well, again, I didn't like overthink it. Like, I wasn't like,
right.
I wasn't like trying to assign lines. Like, I'm like, okay, well, this one's going to say this one. The way I did it was just like really quick and dirty. It was like, I think the music was completed like around October 2019, I was just like tweaking like tiny stuff here and there on some of the music. And then I was like, then I went, I thought, okay, well, Halloween's coming. I can go to Walmart, get a bunch of makeup, hit the Goodwills, basically just assemble this kind of like, I have like a clothes rack. The Bazaar used to be a consignment shop, and one of the things that the Bazaar is the nonprofit that my wife is the executive director of. It's an arts and culture nonprofit in Roanoke. And the way that it got started was it was a record shop and a venue. But one of the things that we accepted there was vintage items. So we had some stuff. We had like, a fur coat or, necklace, whatever else. So I started thinking in October 2019, okay, let's do 3 for each episode, 3 characters. That's enough to like maintain visual interest. I put out this big clothes rack. I got a bunch of, clothes hangers, and I started like assembling 30 costumes. So I got, the basis of them was the stuff from the consignment shop, and then I brought in the makeup and everything. And, once I had this rack filled out, I was like, okay, well, it's time to go on to the next step, So I have, I shot it on the $60 camera I bought in 2010. It's like a Sony Handycam. But the great thing about that was it has the thing you can flip out and turn around so you can see yourself. So I could play to that. I set that like on a step ladder that I set it on, and I can move it up and down the rungs to get like slight different. Like if I wanted to be over top of it or like looking up at it, I threw up the green curtain in the back.
So you did all the filming yourself too? You did like everything? Or did Jamie help at least?
Yeah. Jamie's makes a couple of vocal appearances on some of the episodes. The video stuff was pretty much just me. She has a cameo at one point. But it was pretty much like I had the camera, I set it all up, and I was just kind of like out there doing the weird thing. But yeah, I was just like, once I kind of set up a rhythm for it, it went pretty fast. I had the rack with the characters on it. I had a mirror set up, and I would put on the makeup. I didn't have any kind of plan with the makeup. What I would do is I put on the clothes, and then I was like, well, what is this character's attitude? So I would make a face, like I'd be like, or whatever, and then I would get the pen with the makeup and just trace the lines that face made. And then base the makeup around that.
Just to accentuate your features, I guess.
Say what?
I guess to accentuate your features a little bit, kind of like accentuate the expressions,
Yeah. And once I'd gotten the makeup on, I started to kind of like see what the mannerisms would be of the characters. Like a lot of those were just in the moment too. So it was the same kind of animating principles from the music just went over into the video. You basically, whatever's around you, you grab it, you use it, and don't overthink it. Once you put on the costume, like with the vampire character, like he's got this wig that I discovered when I did this, like it would kind of like bob in like an amusing way, So like, okay, well that's part of the repertoire for this guy, I call him, he's the stand-up vampire because he's supposed to be like an 80s stand-up comedian that's also a vampire, So yeah, I just sort of did. I was like, okay, let's make the way through this. And I just did like one after the other. I think it took about 2 weeks to shoot all the characters. And then I just put the video files for each performance on top of each other and like, you know, cut the crap out, you know.
Well, it's amazing, man. I mean, so what you've decided on, because you were, you know, the whole concept of trying to bring it to a label was kind of like out of the question. It's kind of I don't know, it would be very adventurous and like ambitious project for any label to take on. So you're going the Bandcamp route. So now everything is on Bandcamp to be streamed, and then for purchase as well. For how much is it for the entire season? $60, something like that.
I think it's it's if you get the whole thing, it's 35% off, something like that. It's $68.
Right. Or then they can also purchase like every song individually if they listen to every record and just kind of like pick and choose their favorites.
Yeah, it's $1 a piece. I think for that, it's whatever the default is for Bandcamp. I just kind of rolled with what they were doing.
So, well, getting back to the record, because we probably should discuss The Wall a little bit.
Probably.
I mean, Doug, you know, we don't get to talk very often, and like I love what you do, and I'm just so excited about it that I just can't help myself but to keep on, you know, mentioning it. But The Wall, you know, we kind of have to do this too. See, because now I have another story I have to fucking tell. So look, I feel obligated to tell the story of how we met.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Because so, like we were saying, we met in New Orleans, and it was
at the coffee house.
It was at the Neutral Ground Coffee House, because I had an apartment above the Neutral Ground. There was 2 apartments there, and I ended up moving in with these girls that were friends of my girlfriend at the time, who was going to Tulane. Turns out, you know, it was okay. It was fun to do, and it got me the opportunity to meet you. So I was down there at the cafe having coffee with my girlfriend, sitting at the counter, and it was like an open mic night. And she was kind of getting annoyed, like just kind of bored. She didn't really like the music that was playing. You know, it's typical of an open mic night. And just as soon as she said that, you walked into the room, like with your guitar case, and you were wearing like a suit, like this like weird. It wasn't a fancy suit, but it was like a jacket with pants. And I was just like, I don't want to go yet. That guy's gonna do something. And I was like, I want to see what he does. He has a guitar. He's gonna play it. I want to see what he plays. And she was just like, okay, fine. And she's like all annoyed. It's like, whatever. We're gonna sit here. And so I don't know how much longer it took, but then it was your turn up. So you come up, and the Neutral Ground Coffee House was like, for the people listening that don't know it, was just like a little cafe. And the corner that they had the people performing open mic nights were, it was basically like a living room. It was like a rug, a coffee table, like couches and chairs like around the coffee table, and the person standing in front of like a fireplace, I think, like a fake fireplace or something like that.
And board games.
Yeah. Bookshelf, the whole nine. And so I think I was still sitting at the bar watching you from where you started. And you went into, I think you played Oedipus Rex. And you sat there, and your fucking energy that you moved and played with as you were playing that song and howling it out in that little room with like the 5 or 10 people that were there was so amazing and like entertaining. I was just like, this guy is fucking amazing. And then I think you played Barbasol next. And at the time you were playing that song, it was just the vocals with a tambourine. And you like jumped on the coffee table and were banging it out with your foot and hitting your thigh with the tambourine and just screaming at people that were sitting right at that coffee table, like in their face. I haven't slept since you left. Yeah. And it's just like that chain gang fucking like rhythm and like literal like just stomping of the foot and like slapping of the tambourine is just amazing.
I was really cutting my teeth at that point. I think just like as a performer, like I know that being in New Orleans, like all the stuff that I was exposed to down there was just so in your face and over
Yeah.
the top.
Right.
And it just felt, I was like, oh, I better keep up, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't necessarily the performers at the coffee shop. Like, a lot of them were, I mean, some of them will get a little wild, but it was much more like a folk kind of scene. It was sort of like, Neutral Ground was a place that I could play on short notice. I wouldn't have to talk. Like, I wouldn't have to, like, arrange it, you know?
Right, and book a slot or something.
Yeah, you walk in on the right night, you can play 3 songs. And I was consciously learn how to be a better performer.
How long had you been performing up until that point? Like, how many shows did you do?
Not much.
Yeah.
I did like 2 shows in Roanoke.
Then you went to school in Florida.
And then I went to school in Florida. And
you gig in Florida at all?
I did open mics. And there was this kind of like, there's this jazz combo that lived in the same apartment complex.
Okay.
And they've been together for years, like as a band. And they kind of like, were like, hey, we like these songs. They'd heard some of like the stuff that I recorded by myself.
Yeah.
And like, we should back you up at open mic and stuff. So that was kind of like, that was the experience that I had in Orlando, was like me in a jazz combo.
Wow.
You know, playing like Oedipus Rex and stuff. And that
Really?
was fun. They didn't know, like, they were funny though, because it was like, I would be looking for something sort of like more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were really used to going, you know? Like,
Right.
they really liked the songs, but they're all big Steely Dan fans.
Oh, cool.
They would just sort of like,
They jazzed them up.
they jazzed them up.
Yeah. So, the first real kind of like song is The Thin Ice.
You know, it struck me when I listened to it again. I found that the ballads to be really effective, like in a way that, it had been a long time since I listened to the record.
Okay.
But I'm kind of with you. Like, you were saying it was fucking with you because it just sort of like reminded you of your childhood and stuff.
Right.
And it's probably like second song in, like I got a little bit watery, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
It's like he's such a bad singer.
You can't picture him what?
Anybody else singing The Wall?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you were breaking up a little bit again.
You're irreplaceable.
Yeah. Well, so I didn't even know that actually between Dave Gilmour and Roger Waters, like Dave Gilmour actually does take some leads and some like they do some like duetting on this album.
Yeah, he sings like the radio songs, you know.
Yeah.
Because he's a good singer.
He is, and like, but for some reason, like I've listening to this record as often as I had since I was a kid to now, I could never tell when he comes in. Like the songs are kind of just like I just feel like. I guess I always felt like Roger Waters just kind of had like a different type of range. Like when he wanted to get a little like weird and shrilly to do like the schoolmaster's voice per se, to something like maybe Here on the Thin Ice where he's just kind of doing this ballad-esque song, and so it's very kind of quiet and muted singing. And I guess is that Dave Gilmour on this song?
No, that's Roger Waters.
That is Roger Waters. Okay, it's really strange. Yeah, well, Roger Waters is on that. No, wait. So Dave Gilmour does do some vocals on The Thin Ice. Yeah, he does do some. I'm not sure where.
Oh, really?
But he is credited on the track listing as doing lead vocals. So I'm assuming that that's him, like the first verse.
David Gilmour?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, so, like, Mother, let's just skip to Mother. I guess I don't need to. The point being is that when the Mother comes in, the response is David Gilmour.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Ooh, babe.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Mama's always going to be, Mama's always going to look out for you, all that stuff.
Have both of them doing one thing or another on it, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a few songs. So there's that one. David Gilmour also does some lead vocals in Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, Mother. Gilmour's the lead on Goodbye Blue Sky and Young Lust. And then he's joint lead for Hey You. Is There Anybody Out There? Comfortably Numb. The Show Must Go On, Run Like Hell, and Waiting for the Worms. So a pretty good portion. He's got some strong leads throughout the record. So there's that. Like, so basically, a lot of this song in particular, Mother, being, you know, him feeling like his mother's being overprotective of him, but only in relation to the father not being there and being a single parent.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's a weird song. It's a great song. It's very beautiful. We skipped over 3 songs. We skipped over Another Brick in the Wall Part 1, The Happiest Days of Our Lives, and Another Brick in the Wall Part 2. I think The Happiest Days of Our Lives is a cool one, right? Oh yeah, this song. Okay. So this song we sometimes still even hear on the radio. This is the schoolhouse song, basically.
Yeah.
What was your education like growing up?
I was in public school until high school, and then my mom sent me to the Roanoke Valley Christian School, which was a private school run out of a church.
Ooh.
In Shenandoah Baptist.
Yeah, so a little similar environment.
No, I mean we weren't like having like pudding with hell or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a dress code, and there was there was sort of some weird stuff like, you know, when they taught evolution, it was because they had to, and they taught it as a theory, you know, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, it's funny because like when I was thinking about The Wall, and I was thinking about going to school, and even like before I knew how to play guitar or anything, I was writing like lyrics that were like kind of like I was trying to do The Wall.
Oh yeah.
I like trying to do it from my own experience, and like being like, these people make me wear a dress codes that are fascist and stuff. And then like, you know, I got to be like, you know, in my 20s, and I thought, well, that seems like an overreaction.
Yeah.
But now,
yeah.
like, now I'm like, even, you know, I'm almost 40, and I'm like, well, maybe that wasn't an overreaction. You know, maybe there was something kind of like at its core a little bit fascistic about that kind of school environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know. I mean, but so you weren't abused by your school teachers?
No, they weren't boxing my ears, and they weren't. There was some really weird, like just like Bible related stuff that was just strange. Like we went to like our school trip was like we went to ostensibly we went to New York to see the Phantom of the Opera, but then we spent like a week at this weird like Bible camp, and I remember everything was frozen and like.
Yeah.
And there was like a lot of pressure to like come forward and cry, you know, and rededicate your life. Like there was so much pressure that I remember classmates having like literal nervous breakdowns. Like this girl was saying that she had seen angels and stuff, and they were just having, you know, breakdowns in front of everybody else. Like
Jesus. And
it was sort of like applauded. So it wasn't like the schoolmaster like.
There's a lot of emotional abuse.
There was I think it was emotional abuse.
Yeah.
I think it was really kind of fucked up. Yeah. Waiting for the Worms made an impact on me because it tied into this kind of thing that we were just talking about.
Right. Okay, we'll do Waiting for the Worms, but I think I want to mention that the filler part, I think there's 2 songs you can skip on this. Like I think even story-wise, there's probably 2 that you could skip, and it wouldn't really affect the story. I think it's certainly Vera. I certainly feel like Vera is not essential to the story.
I think it's essential. I
You
mean,
like
the
this
story
song?
would be the same, but to me, that's a real high point of the album because it's like, so the character has become, Pink has become, disconnected from everybody. He's behind the wall,
Hmm.
and there's this kind of moment of like remembering somebody that he used to know like a long time ago. I don't know. There's just a lot of humanity in it, I think.
All right, let me play a little bit. Let me try to familiarize myself with it.
To me, though, it's like the thing that makes it strong is that it's followed up by "Bring the Boys Back Home," which is just this
Right.
like patriotism, like ratcheted up to the point of insanity. It's just like those two tracks just back to back.
Right.
I mean, it might be like, upon listening to it last night, I think that might have been my favorite part of the experience.
Really?
Was,
Wow.
Yeah, just like that track and then the other one.
This is our great disconnect, Doug. I don't know if I can listen to your music anymore.
Oh man,
I can't trust your judgment. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean it's a beautiful song, but I just from when I was listening to it and I was making some of these notes, it just seemed like the one that could, if you needed to cut something, you could cut it.
If you had to.
If you never knew it
But,
existed, you'd never miss it, Doug. If it had been cut from the album, you would have never known the song and you would have never missed it.
We're speaking in hypotheticals.
Well,
here.
yeah, of course.
I don't see any reason to edit the wall.
No. Yeah, this is all hypothetical for sure, man.
Going back to the thing about albums and like the idea of an album making it like a complete statement, like I'm refusing to pick the wall apart. I don't want to like. I'm not going to pick favorite songs. I like the wall as a whole.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, good answer.
I think that's the only way to listen to it, really. Go ahead.
Right, I agree with you. I mean, I think subconsciously I probably avoided this record for a long time because of all the Pink Floyd records that there are and that I might want to listen to, this is probably not my go-to. But I am very familiar with this record because I literally grew up with it. Like, this is one of those records that, was in my house when I was a kid, and I probably listened to it way too young. And then I also watched the movie at the same time, like maybe a few years after that, but I was still probably too young to see it. And it kind of messed with me. And and it was my dad's doing. My dad was the fan. And I think that has something to do with it too, because, I didn't end up having a good relationship with him ultimately. So I think that's what dredged up some of that weird emotion that we were talking about last week with me and this record and, kind of thinking about talking about it.
I mean, it's almost like a radio drama or something, you know
Right.
what I mean? Well, we think of it as an album, but when you think about the finished product, it's filmmaking, really. I mean, it's a musical film.
But much like yourself, it wasn't intended to be filmed. Like, they made it as just a concept record piece. It was only after the fact that they were approached that they were like, I forget who directed the movie now, but that they asked them if they would be interested in making the movie.
I didn't realize that wasn't part of the master plan.
No, I don't believe it was. The Totalitarian is available on YouTube now, so you can stream the entire video series, and you can binge watch it like that. And but it's also available for purchase on Bandcamp, the audio files of it, not the video.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, so you're working on a new season.
I am, yeah, for 5 episodes, which I also put on Bandcamp, so you can kind of like listen to those and maybe imagine how that might look.
All 5 episodes?
Before you say what?
5 episodes?
Yeah, I've got music for 5 episodes up there.
Are you doing more than that for the season, or is that going to be it?
I'd like to do 10 again, but 5 is what I've got.
Jesus, okay. So you've already recorded another 5 records.
Yeah.
It's amazing, man. You're just so fucking prolific. I just can't imagine myself, man. It just, you always blow me away by that, by how prolific you are with like your music. You just kind of keep on churning stuff out all the time.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, if I wasn't doing it, I would probably just go nuts, you know?
Right.
Like I've always had to like really intentionally make time to do it. And it's had sort of like some detrimental effects on that. Like, it's sort of like, because you have to make, like, I've had to make time to do it, there's been things that I haven't, like, it's made it, there's only like certain kinds of jobs that I've been able to like do, you know? Like, I've never been able to have like a job that takes up a lot of my mental space. It's like, yeah, I'm prolific, but it's like I kind of have to be, and I kind of have to like accept the drawbacks of having to do things that way too, you know?
Right. Until the one project finally breaks it big, and then
And yeah,
you don't have to worry about that. You just kind of keep on working at your own pace.
knock on wood.
You got it, man. Well, that's why I wanted to have you on, dude. I mean, I am more than happy all the time to you know, praise the words, praise the name of Doug Cheatwood whenever I can. So I wanted to ask you to be on the show, and I'm happy to have you on, man.
It's been great talking to you. Yeah, we'll have to keep in touch, you
I
know?
know.
Cool. All right, buddy.
And every